everyone, my name is Sophia and this is my TOKIA. So let's begin with the real life situation. My real life situation is about the bans on hijabs in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Hijabs are no longer welcome in judicial institutions in Bosnia and Herzegovina to avoid suspicion of religiously motivated bias, according to a recent conclusion reached by the country's High Judicial and Prosecutorial Council. According to the preliminary results of the 2013 population census, 50% of Bosnia and Herzegovina's population is Muslim. This is not the first time the hijab has sparked controversy in the country. In 2012, Amila Mucinovic, an officer in Bosnia's armed forces, was suspended after she refused to remove her hijab. This leads me to my knowledge question. Why do people put validity behind uncertain knowledge? I believe I can answer this knowledge question from a plethora of perspectives, specifically 3 ways of knowing: reason, emotion, and faith. Let's begin with reason. Reason is the way in which we try to make sense of the world using logic, rationality, comparison, judgment, and experience. People utilize reason to add concrete validity behind uncertain knowledge, either as an excuse or to sincerely prove a point. For example, some conservatives around the nation have labeled all Muslims as extremists due to recent news they have been hearing about terrorists and hate organizations. Due to this fact, these conservatives are preventing Syrian refugees from entering the U.S. as they believe that these Muslims are terrorists and will bomb our country. Through the use of causation, by the way, causation is the causation of a phenomenon is what directly makes it occur. So through the use of causation and statistics that news channels utilize, these conservatives are allowing this uncertain knowledge to become valid in their minds. This relates to my real life situation of Bosnia because although there's no factual evidence behind Bosnia's reasoning, they ruled hijabs as unlawful to be worn in bureaucratic institutions due to a quote-unquote suspicion. In order to make their claim more valid, they continued to attempt to use reason to justify their response. The next way of knowing we'll move on to is emotion. Worthy of note is the distinction between emotion and reason. The first being instinctive, the latter being something with which we are consciously involved. Emotion is a strong feeling such as joy or anger. Furthermore, it is an instinctive feeling as distinguished from reasoning or knowledge. Some people put validity behind uncertain knowledge in order to emotionally appeal to others. For example, the government emotionally appeals to the public through propaganda by emotionally persuading them of a particular ideological standpoint or political cause, forcing them to sway one way or another. Another example is Joey from the show Friends. The following clip will display Joey's emotion with food. Click, 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 click. Joey's emotion with food is representative of any person's emotions about something they believe strongly about. They jump to certain conclusions even if the knowledge is uncertain in order to validate their argument. Another perspective from the emotional standpoint is of the somatic marker hypothesis. The somatic marker hypothesis is a hypothesis put forward by the neuroscientist Antonio DiMaggio. It proposes that emotional experiences we have in our lives leave a chemical trace behind in our brain, and these chemicals are unconsciously accessed when we are faced with a similar event again, helping us to find a resolution. The government may use hypotheses such as this one to improve the validity of their argument in propaganda statements when uncertain knowledge is being utilized. Another example of emotion can be depicted throughout various other countries. For example, when I was fundraising to give money to the Coalition for Homeless in DC over the summer of 8th grade, I believe, I had done so through an app called GoFundMe. I sent these links to all my relatives, and my relatives proceeded to send it to all their friends, and just to like spread the word. But one of my aunt's friends in Indonesia was like shocked to hear about a homeless shelter in DC, like absolutely appalled. And through the Indonesia media's propaganda, she had grown up learning that the US was for privileged folk and nothing bad could ever happen here. She utilized the emotions that built up within her as she grew up to validate the uncertain knowledge she had about the US. Finally, I move on to the last walk, faith. Faith is a relatively new way of knowing in TOK, and because it does not, and it does not really rely on proof, and therefore it isn't accepted as a valid walk. So now to define faith. Well, faith is the complete trust or confidence in someone or something. An example could pertain to the bonded laborers in India, especially during the election season. When there's a politician that is promising a better future for these bonded laborers that literally have nothing better to look forward to, these bonded laborers will obviously put their 100% trust and faith in this politician. Although the knowledge about this politician may be uncertain, which it usually is, these bonded laborers add validity to their stance for this politician by using faith. Another example is of politicians in the US. Some politicians are a bit radical, such as Trump. Supporters of Trump use their faith in him as an argument towards validating him to other Americans. Leslie Hazelton, deemed an essential thinker in the walk faith, explains a little about the faith. Little about faith. Not about the faith, but unfortunately, I must end this TED Talk early due to time constraints. However, simply Google Leslie Faith TED Talk to watch the full talk. It's really interesting. I really recommend it to everyone. Anyways, now that we have evaluated many parts of my argument, I will now formulate a conclusion. Dun, dun, dun. Back to my real life situation. Bosnia hijabs. In my opinion, I believe people should utilize reason, emotions, and faith, and other walks if they prefer. Depends on them. It's subjective. However, I believe the application of each should be proportionate to each other to make sure each way of knowing balances the other out so that there's not too much reason or like not too much faith. And a balanced solution could be fomented too. And other real life situations, honestly, this can be applied to any situation as long as it's balanced. For example, this can be applied to gay marriage rights or even the dress code. As in both of these situations, the officials or the people that are higher up in the chain are fed uncertain knowledge that they utilize to validate their arguments, whether that be good or bad. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my TOKIA, even though I'm really annoying, and yeah, my voice is probably really ugly. But yeah, thank you. Bye. Beep.